everyone. So today I'm talking about high incidence disabilities, specifically speech disorders. So first is what are high incidence disabilities? According to the book that we were assigned for the class, the Friend and Bruce Sharp book, students with high incidence disabilities have speech or language disabilities, learning disabilities, emotional disturbances, or mild intellectual disabilities. So high incidence is really just kind of an umbrella term for all of those. And like I said before, I am talking specifically about the language disabilities. Okay, so a little bit more about high incidence. So students who are recognized as having high incidence disabilities are usually hard to distinguish from their peers. They are often without physical disabilities, but not always. They can overlap as well. So you can have a student who has a physical disability and a high incidence disability, but that's not always going to be the case. And they can interlap with each other. So you can have emotional disturbance with language. It all depends on the kid. Every kid is unique. They're all going to be different. So students with high incidence disabilities make up around 70 or 80, depending on what resource you're looking at, percent of all students who have disabilities. Often these children have behavioral, social, and or academic issues depending on their specific disability. These students benefit from being on a strict schedule and routines, and oftentimes they struggle with sudden change, and because of that they might act out if there is a sudden change. So for an example, I am an assistant pre-K teacher. I have 2 kids in my class who are on the spectrum, varying intensities. They both really benefit when it is the same teachers in the classroom because we can sometimes rotate. They eat lunch and snack and breakfast in the exact same spot at the table every single day. Their cots are in the same spot every single day. That helps them being like, okay, I know exactly where I'm going to, so I don't need to be told. Why am I talking about autism? Autism can sometimes have similar characteristics to a high incidence disability. However, just because a kid has autism does not mean that they are going to have a high incidence disability. And we're going to talk a bit more about autism next. So now specifically more about language disorders. What is a language disorder? It is a disorder that directly affects someone's ability to produce sound or of language effectively enough to properly communicate, either verbally or written, or even sign language that can be affected as well. This could often be misdiagnosed as autism at a young age because they have the same characteristics, and it can get really confusing when a child has both autism and a language disorder. So with like the sounds, like they might not be able to produce specific like letter sounds. That's kind of what I meant by that. What do language disorders look like? So a student who may have a language disorder will often be significantly delayed in their speech development. And when they do start to talk, they will be behind their peers, like developmentally. And they will have a hard time forming full, grammatically correct sentences, even long into their development. So they could be a teenager and they could have have difficulties, making grammatically correct sentences, even though they've been talking for years and years and years. It doesn't just go away magically. They're going to have it all the time. Yeah. So some characteristics of what a language disorder looks like. A child might have reduced vocabulary. They will be forming simple sentences. They might be missing some small words here and there. Like they'll say, I hungry, instead of I am hungry. Or I tired, instead of I am tired. Babies do that because they haven't learned enough yet to be able to form those sentences, but that's going to be more prevalent in like a child who's in like 2nd grade. They might know, I should say, that they should say, I am hungry. But they can't process that, so they're just going to say, I hungry, and think that's correct. They will have reduced ability to carry on conversation. So if they don't have that vocabulary, it's going to be difficult for them to talk to other people. So they're going to try to maybe avoid conversation, and they're going to like make it quick and move on. Going back to simple sentences, they're going to be leaving out major words when conversing. And repeating the questions instead of answering. They're going to, like, if you ask them, are you okay? They're going to respond back, are you okay? And they're going to think that, like, that was the answer. And they will be confusing past and present tenses. So it's like saying, like, I am instead of I was when talking about something in the past. So this video kind of goes a little bit more in depth to explain what like language disorders are specifically. Okay. So basically, just to summarize, is language disorders are often misdiagnosed because not many people know about language disorders, and they have, like she said in the video, might automatically assume autism or ADHD. So what are some causes of language disorders? It's mostly genetic. Somebody who has a family history of language disorders is most likely to have one themselves. However, if you don't have a family history of it, you can still have it. Okay, so with education, students who have a speech disorder are diagnosed by a speech pathologist, like mentioned in the video. they'll usually be placed in a general education class and worked with a school speech therapist if available. They should be available because of IDEA. If there is not a speech therapist available, which there should be, students will work with their special education teacher and have an IEP. Speech therapist should be available because of IDEA. If not, as general education teachers, we have to advocate for our students to get the resources that they need in order to get the education that they need as well. And if you have a student in your general education class who has a speech disorder, they should also be working with a special education teacher. And as a general education teacher, we will also be working with them to find out resources and stuff and how to help them and give them the best education possible. Okay. So basically, this video is going to summarize how we can, excuse me, as general education teachers, support our students Okay. So that is the end of my presentation. Basically, to summarize, like she said in the video, a big part of teaching students with speech disorders is to be patient and repeat yourself. I keep going back to thinking of teaching toddlers because I teach around that age. It's kind of the same. They're still learning. A student with a speech disorder who is 10 is still learning. So repeating yourself, being patient, and using those sign language tools. I'm talking to the special education teacher and the speech pathologist at the school. So yeah, that's it. Please let me know if you guys have any questions or if I can clarify anything. And thanks for watching.